In a world drowning in noise, clarity is a rare superpower. The Stoics mastered it centuries ago. If your mind feels foggy, lost, or overwhelmed, these 6 ancient lessons will sharpen your thinking and anchor your soul. Let's cut through the chaos together. Stillness is the birthplace of clarity. When the world rushes, pull back. When your phone screams for your attention, when people demand answers, when your thoughts race faster than your breath, pause. Do nothing. In that deliberate stillness, not the laziness of inaction, but the discipline of intentional rest, you begin to hear the faint voice beneath the noise. The Stoics did not find wisdom by adding more, but by subtracting what was unnecessary. Marcus Aurelius would retreat into himself, even amidst wars and governance. He wrote, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." That is not poetry. That is a practice. To sit, to breathe, to return to oneself is to remember that the chaos outside does not have to become chaos within. The modern world mistakes movement for progress. But if you are sprinting in circles, what have you gained? Stillness is not slowness, it is accuracy. The archer must steady his hand before the arrow flies true. Your decisions, your reflections, your emotions, they all require that stillness first. Without it, you are only reacting, not reasoning. You are ruled, not ruling. A day without stillness is a day lost to noise. A life without stillness is a life shaped by forces outside yourself. Begin there, not with ambition, but with silence. Once stillness has cleared a space within, you must question what fills it. Your mind is not a container of truth, it is a theater of assumptions, and most of what plays out there was written by others. Childhood, culture, fear, repetition, all scripts we rarely pause to inspect. But a Stoic does not fear the dismantling of illusions. Seneca said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." What else is imagination but the offspring of unexamined beliefs? You think you must be successful by 30. You assume others judge you constantly. You believe failure means unworthiness. Who told you that? Who benefits from you carrying that burden? If a belief has guided your decisions, ruled your emotions, and shaped your self-worth for years, does it not deserve interrogation? To think clearly, one must be ruthless with inherited thought. The Stoics were not skeptics for the sake of doubt. They were seekers of what remained after doubt had burned the unnecessary away. It takes courage to admit your mind may be wrong. It takes strength to loosen your grip on cherished narratives. But it is in that letting go that clarity emerges. You begin to see not what you assumed, but what is. And what is, truth, reality, presence, is far less frightening than the shadow world of false belief. With your beliefs examined, you turn to action. And here is where most lose clarity entirely, by aiming their energy outward at what lies beyond their control. But a Stoic draws a clean line between what is his and what is not. He knows that power without boundaries is wasted. Epictetus taught that we cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose our response. This is the third lesson. Focus only on what is yours to govern. You cannot control traffic, but you can control your patience. You cannot control someone's opinion, but you can control how much it shapes you. You cannot control the past or the future, but you can control the meaning you give to this present moment. When you try to control the uncontrollable, you exhaust yourself and blame the world. But when you return to what is yours, your thoughts, your values, your actions, you reclaim the only true freedom that exists. It is a profound simplification of life. When you look at a stressful situation, you ask one question: what part of this is mine? And then you pour yourself fully into that part. You relinquish the rest. The clarity this creates is not small. It is life-altering. It removes drama, it ends unnecessary suffering, it frees up energy for what truly matters. You stop being tossed by every wave and begin steering your own ship. A Stoic knows the difference between a storm and his sail. But clarity does not only depend on inner discipline, it also depends on the outer world you construct or tolerate. Here enters the fourth lesson: seek simplicity, not poverty, not deprivation, but clarity through removal. Marcus Aurelius observed, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself." The more your life is filled with noise, clutter, comparison, and distraction, the harder it becomes to hear that inner self. Simplicity begins with choices. Do you need another app? Do you need another opinion? Do you need another task on your calendar? Or is complexity just the mask you wear to feel important, to stay numb, to avoid the frightening silence of simplicity? It is easier to scroll endlessly than to face your own thoughts. It is easier to chase productivity than to sit with purpose. A Stoic clears his space, not to impress others, but to clear his mind. He simplifies his commitments, not to do less, but to do the essential with more presence. He strips away the non-essential, not because it is bad, but because it is distracting. The fewer directions you pull yourself in, the more powerful your movement becomes. Simplicity is the sharpening of the sword, the tightening of the focus. It is clarity turned into lifestyle. But to sustain this clarity, you must also believe that change is possible, that your current mind is not the final version, that your flaws are not fixed, your limitations not permanent. The Stoics, though often misunderstood as cold or detached, were in fact believers in growth, relentless, disciplined, noble growth. Seneca wrote, "As long as you live, keep learning how to live." This is lesson 5. Cultivate a growth mindset. You will fail, you will misunderstand, you will fall short of your values. But none of these are ends unless you stop learning. Clarity means not just seeing what is, but seeing what could be. It means noticing a reaction and asking why. It means seeing a mistake and deciding what it will teach you. The mind that does not grow becomes brittle. It confuses defense with depth. But the growing mind, the one that questions, experiments, adapts, it becomes flexible, resilient, wise. A Stoic is not ashamed to change his mind. Marcus Aurelius rewrote his own meditations again and again, refining not for public display, but for personal understanding. Clarity does not come in a flash, it comes in layers. Each mistake is another peeled layer. Each realization, another step deeper. The growth mindset is the fuel of lifelong clarity. Without it, you stagnate in old beliefs, old habits, old pains. And yet, even with all this work done alone, in stillness, in questioning, in discipline, there remains a final frontier for clarity: how you listen to others. The 6th lesson is this: practice active listening. Not the kind of listening that waits impatiently to speak, not the kind that hears only what it expects, but true, attentive, curious listening. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. Everything we see is a perspective, not the truth." To think clearly, you must first see clearly. And to see clearly, you must learn from more than your own voice. Active listening means approaching conversation as an explorer, not a judge. You set aside your assumptions, your need to be right, your rehearsed responses. You open space for another's perspective to enter your mind, not to control you, but to challenge you. It is in this friction between your thoughts and theirs that clarity sharpens. It is easy to dismiss, easy to say, "I already know that," but a Stoic does not guard his mind with pride. He opens it with humility. He knows that the person across from him, whether wise or foolish, has something to teach. Even in their error, he learns more about truth. Even in their passion, he learns more about value. To listen well is to learn always. And listening is not only for learning, it is for connection. You cannot think clearly about the world if you do not hear the world. You cannot act justly toward others if you do not understand them. Active listening deepens not only clarity, but compassion. And what is wisdom without the capacity to live well among others? All 6 of these lessons do not stand alone, they interweave. Stillness creates the space for questioning. Questioning leads to focus. Focus allows for simplicity. Simplicity invites growth. Growth opens the ear to listen. And listening, in turn, feeds stillness with deeper insight. Clarity is not a switch, it is a cycle. Each principle strengthens the others. Practice daily, they do not just change how you think, they change who you are. You begin to notice when you are unclear. You feel it, the agitation, the confusion, the rush to react. And instead of pushing forward blindly, you pause. You return to stillness. You examine your belief. You shift your focus. You simplify the moment. You embrace the opportunity to grow. You listen, to yourself, to others, to the silence between the noise. This is not philosophy in books. This is philosophy in breath. When clarity becomes your habit, decisions lose their weight. Emotions lose their grip. The future loses its anxiety. You act, not because of pressure, but because of purpose. You speak, not to impress, but to understand. You move, not to escape, but to arrive. And yet, this is not a promise of ease. Clarity does not remove pain, injustice, or loss. It does not make the world simple, it makes you strong. It gives you the tools to navigate complexity without being consumed by it. The Stoics lived amidst wars, exile, illness, betrayal. They did not seek comfort, they sought alignment with nature, reason, and virtue. Clarity was not their luxury, it was their necessity. So now when your mind is foggy, do not panic. When the world feels loud, do not shout louder. Return to the path. Begin again, with stillness, with curiosity, with control, with simplicity, with growth, with listening. These 6 lights will guide you through the fog. They are not new, they are ancient. But clarity does not age, it does not expire. It waits, like the quiet soul Marcus described, ready for your return. And when you return to clarity, you return to yourself.